Welcome to the Deployed podcast, where strategy, ideas, and capital come to life.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Deployed. Thanks for joining. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Michael Kearse, a real estate investor and founder of Ameripath USA. Over the last several years, I've helped investors deploy millions into affordable real estate that creates consistent, secure returns while helping families across the country achieve home ownership. I created Deployed because I realized everyone has capital, whether it be money, knowledge, relationships, but few deploy it intentionally. This show is all about the art and science of deployment and how high performers turn potential into power. Today, we have exciting guest, Vadim Peskov, who is not only the CEO and co-founder of Diffco, but is also a serial entrepreneur and mentor at Alchemist Accelerator with a proven track record in guiding numerous startups. Hey, Vadim, welcome.
Thanks for inviting.
Yeah.
Let's rock and roll.
Awesome. So, Vadim, first question for you. How do you usually introduce yourself to people who don't know you or your world?
It's a tough one. In this case, I need to exit the bubble. I mean, I'm doing software development and I'm helping startups in AI grow, do a lot of product work and invest in AI, cybersecurity, and SaaS products mostly for B2B enterprises. This is kind of like a short answer. In reality, it's like something with computer if you don't really understand this portion, but it will do.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's an exciting world, man. AI is everywhere. You're probably the second or third guest who I spoke to that's in the AI space. What are you bullish on in AI? What are you kind of, skittish about? Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these couple of years, like 3 years of AI, what we call AI, Gen AI, been really exciting and been a lot of things that been quite dramatic through this few years. So I think that they think that I'm really excited for 2026 as real augmentation of the actual tasks that you do, actual agents that helping you this in a day-to-day life. Not only really crazy folks that know how to set up really complicated flows, but regular people that can ask AI to do things and it will execute. And I think we see a lot of progress there and ability to just communicate normally, the same that you would visit your coworker and ask, hey, can you help me with this? And the thing that I'm really excited is when we change the interfaces, how we interact with the software, where we're not asking the software to change things like, hey, can you update this record in CRM, etc. No. It anticipates this already based on the information it's already have. You don't need to do this yourself. It's asking you, hey, I saw you had a call with John. I saw the recording, and based on this recording, you should send him this. I prepared the proposal. Can you check it? And so I can send this, or you want to add something? So this is the approach that probably would be the best. And this is how we would change the interfaces. And I think this is the future of UI interfaces for AI. At least this is how we see this in 2026 early.
Yeah. So you made me think about something. So I come from the digital marketing background. And one of the biggest challenges you had when you wanted to be like omni-channel, meaning if you tapped someone on Facebook, you also wanted the ability to add them to your CRM, follow up with them on the email, maybe befriend them on LinkedIn.
Or maybe text them.
And maybe text them, absolutely. Understand what industry, what role they play in their company, maybe show them an article that you did, things that you would do if it was just that one-on-one lead that you were focusing on, but doing it on a grand scale. Can we do that today with AI products? Because I hear about agents and I see all these different types of like add-ons with ChatGPT, but it still seems like complex where you're using like HubSpot with the webhooks and things like that. It becomes simpler with AI now where you don't need to do all of those and have all these different softwares and subscriptions and tools?
Yes, no, maybe it depends. It's not in order. So in reality, this would be a different question depending on channel. So it is multiple products that you can use that can now manipulate your browser. And it's a wonderful product from Perplexity that do this. And the same exists from OpenAI. Slightly weirder from my perspective. Also, Gemini is kind of doing the same logic, much lighter in a way right now. Those examples is still limited in terms of what it can do out of the box. Can you set up it to do certain things? Yes. Again, friending is not a big deal. Like, again, this is the flow that you can easily do. The problem becomes when you want to really determine if this person is actually this person. For example, because sometimes when you even looking yourself through LinkedIn, you see like, yeah, this is John Doe, but he have no photos and no background. But it looks like his profile because he also went to MIT, and this guy is also went to MIT, but we don't really know. And it's multiple ways to check this, but not always possible. Same as like, hey, we opening the Instagram, but we don't really know if this person is the same there. So it's multiple ways to find it. Again, it will solve probably 90% of the problems, and 10% you need to check, double check, etc. For multiple folks that more public, sure, easy. Sometimes it will becomes the flow where you need to involve the human. I mean, it's possible to set up this. The core question is if this is the flow that you should optimize first.
Right.
So in many cases, so for example, when we do some AI transformations approaches, we review the company basically doing on day-to-day basis, and we check in, hey, can we actually change things there? Can we impact the most critical aspects that take in 60%, 80% of the time, how we can actually do this. So the question becomes slightly different in a way that, hey, maybe this is the flow that take in 2 minutes and it's 10 other flows that take in more, and it's much easier to optimize because we also want to have an basically ideally 100% result, because searching someone on social media as example is not always the case. But we can draft all the messages, everything, but you just need to verify everything as example.
Yeah.
At least right now, it could be different in near future.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that, because I can geek out on an AI all day. But Vadim, I want to go back for a second before all the wins, who you were before this version of success showed up. What were some early struggles that may have shaped how you operate today?
It is slightly more dramatic than I expected. That's you have a dramatic questions. I love this. So I think, and it probably would sound silly, but before everything, it was probably a man with a dream, and I was a stupid enough dream to believe that is possible. So I think like in reality, it's many people that would be like, hey, you dreaming too big, it's impossible like to do X, Y, and Z things. Like, hey, you cannot achieve this. And for someone, it's $1 million. For someone, it's $1 billion, etc. And the point is, if you don't dream big and if you do not shoot for the stars, you will end up in near highway exit. So it's probably better to shoot for the star and maybe end up in the moon. So it's probably will be okay. So in my case, I originally started this company almost 17 years ago, actually more than 17 years ago. And this was completely different story back then. So it was a different playbook. We did a content plus websites, etc. It was completely different. And I started this because it was 2008 crisis, and the company that I worked for actually needed to downsize, and I was a CIO, CISO at the time of this company, and they was like, hey, yeah, we can continue working, but you would probably receive less than third of your salary. Like, great. And I was ambitious enough to think like, yeah, it's probably worth trying, and was completely stupid idea, but end up in a good way here. So I think I would take this any day. But in reality, if I would see the journey from beginning, I probably would be like, come on, really? I thought it would be easier.
Yeah. Well, what was your first big break or deal, and what did it?
I think in reality, I had big deals when I started, but I don't think the big deal is what moving me to the success. I think the reality is I need to have a consistency in things, which is much more important. Let's say, as example, let's say I sign up a $10 million deal. Great. But maybe this is a deal for a year or for 2 years, whatever. So I have this 10 million in revenue during this time. It's amazing. The core question is how I compound on this, how I grow on this, and how I have the consistency. I think the consistency is more important. I had a big deals in 2000. The first, I think, big deals was in banking sector for me in, I think it was 2011, like this. Probably, 2010, 2011. Big banking group. Back then we did a lot of advertising. It was a lot of fun doing this and slightly different kind of logic. But was a lot of success back then. Now I see this as like why we did what we did, but it's worked for them fine and they were happy. So my point is, hey, it's probably the best approach to find good deals to give you confidence that you can do this, and after you can.
Yeah, no, I like that. So obviously, you stumbled on Mike. It's not about one big deal. It's about the consistency. You've built something incredible, and I know success is more mindset than mechanics. So I want to unpack how you think as well. What principles or beliefs guide how you make decisions today?
You really prepared for absolutely great questions. I love this.
Oh, thank you.
I think like ability to take risk is important. However, even more important is to believe in what the heck you do and try to achieve the good results with whatever you're doing there. Because the core problem that I constantly see in young entrepreneurs and in many people that trying to do things, and it doesn't matter, like, again, in terms of the age young, like starting their businesses, they can be in their 50s, but starting their first business. I think it's a question that it is a game. The point is you will lose, like at some point. And this is kind of normal portion of the life. The same as like if you drive a car long enough, you will absolutely have some kind of accident.
Mhm.
Like someone will scratch your door on a parking lot, hopefully nothing more dramatic, or you will have.
Law of averages.
Yeah, absolutely. And the point is, the people who win is actually people who just iterate. So sometimes you just need to move forward and experiment and fail and experiment. I have a lot of wonderful examples from friends of mine that did like 20 different pivots in a year and end up being successful and sold the companies. Because like, hey, we tested something, it doesn't really work. We get the data, we learn from this. Okay, we talk to the customers, we try a different thing. And again, you repeat this. And sometimes you repeat this every day, and sometimes you get hit by the train in a face every freaking day, like 300 days a year. And this is the job.
Yeah, no.
And the goal here is really simple, to figure out, hey, yeah, I still believe that this is the right direction. Not being really problematic with the idea, hey, let's change the direction sometimes, but like believe that you moving forward. The problem is when you stop and start overthink this.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes in business it's just simple as let's continue doing what we're doing, and yes, adapt, obviously experiment, but not give up, because it's important to move forward.
I love that. I love that. You made me think about a time when I heard Robert Kiyosaki talking about businesses. And I think he said a stat like 70% of all business fail. And he was like, well, what about the other 30%, right? If I tried 10 different businesses, 3 of them are wound to hit, right? And to your point, it's all about having that positive mental attitude and understanding the goal and the belief in it, that we just iterate until we get it right. I love that.
Yeah, it's 50% of our marketing is going to waste. We just don't even know which 50%.
Yeah, exactly. Now, when you say marketing, are you creating a marketing product, or do you mean marketing to land maybe jobs or maybe to attract talent? Do you mean like the marketing you do for your
That's
business?
a general phrase that I love, but the point is we always do a lot of waste. We just don't know which half.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand. So, Vadim, how do you approach risk and reward?
With a big punishment to myself. So the game is to risk enough. So because you cannot think that you cannot have no like risk businesses, like those doesn't really exist. I mean, you can have the configurations where it's low risk business but low reward. Sure. I mean, you can become a contractor and like work as an electrician, for example, for yourself and do things there. And yeah, it's again, kind of low risk unless you do something stupid. But the point is, it's probably low reward. And the same is like, hey, you build in the restaurant, this example, it's probably low risk and low reward. Again, probably not profitable. Please don't start new restaurants. I mean, I love when people start new restaurants. I love the restaurants, but it's absolutely terrible business.
Hard, man. It's hard.
It's hard because it's not a business, it's a self-employment. And maybe people probably hate this idea, but hey, the business is when you create the franchise network, when you actually grow this to a network of like 50 plus whatever restaurants, this is business. Everything else is, yeah, you doing this because you love this thing, which is, you call the job, in reality is hobby, which is again fine, but it's not the business. So this is the point. So the goal here is, in most cases, is actually to just see through this and kind of like create the mental model that, hey, 80% or 90% or sometimes 98% of things, what we will try will fail. This is normal. So it's the same thing as, yeah, like you will fail if you will do certain things. So this is normal. So you just need to experiment and you need to believe that I'm on the right track. And sometimes it means that you need to make an evaluation and decide, hey, this is just not the right business. Or maybe it's a market, maybe it's something else. Again, you need to try hard to understand if it's working or not, but sometimes it's just you're not a good fit. Because again, everyone talks a lot about product market fit. Sure, but let's start first with the founder market fit and founder product fit, because this is the key if the founder teams can actually execute this. Because this is a lonely job. It's really lonely and really hard. People just sometimes like, hey, yeah, we will smile, but in reality, it is really lonely process and long journey, by the way, on a multiple tens of years. So brave yourself and experiment.
Yeah, no. One thing that I've heard people say too, and Ty Lopez is one of my favorite kind of mentors to listen to, because no one really took the time to break things down the way that he did, being in the position that he was in. You begin to learn, like, the more successful you become in anything, the lonelier it could be, because one, the sacrifices that you make, the way that you think, because a lot of people don't reach that pinnacle, it just naturally, it becomes and can be lonely. So I can understand where you're coming from with that. We talk a lot here about how people deploy their capital, not just financially, but intellectually, relationally. I'm curious how that looks for you. When you think of capital, what does that word mean to you?
It is a lot of things. I think it's like, especially in Silicon Valley, so we have kind of like, I would say, 3 pillars that comes to mind. The first is obviously any kind of liquid cash resources or unliquid, whatever property you have. The second is your network. And the third is your knowledge. So the wonderful thing is, many people believe that their knowledge is not so interesting and they never try to sell this. And what I mean by selling, it's not exactly, hey, let's get money from this. Money is not always the best currency to get, especially in the case of knowledge. Sometimes it's equity. Sometimes it's just good relationship. Sometimes it's a new friend. Sometimes it's a new partner. So I think it's a way how you play this game and combination of those 3. And from my perspective, is the knowledge is the really important portion. You can get a lot from the knowledge. The core question is, the people who succeed is just people with the best knowledge. The people who succeed is actually people who just iterate more and know more people. So by end of the day, the most important portion is your network and how you treat your friends, what you do for them, and how you accelerate this. It's an old saying that your success is basically capped to the 5 people that you spend in the most time with. And if those people is not moving you forward, sometimes it's a question to change those people. And changing the circles is really important if you want to grow. And in many cases, for many people, this is an actual limitation. So they probably should stop wasting their time with the friends or folks that they spend time with and just realize, hey, I want to be a millionaire, as example, and I want to have a successful real estate company. If I will spend my time with the folks that doesn't know anything about this, how I will learn. Again, it doesn't mean that you need to delete all your friends' numbers, etc. Not obviously. But in terms of the connections, in terms of how you grow, and in many people, many folks in their connection is actually slowing them down and reducing their motivation and many other things like, hey, how you can achieve this? Prove me wrong. Like, come on, like, easy. You can do a lot of things and you can learn how money works. You can learn how wherever real estate works or how the tech works, and you can grow. Again, if this is your goal, again, maybe your goal is to paint wherever paintings and be happy with the folks that you're happy with. So like, great, like absolutely totally fine. But if you want to be successful and if you want to grow your business, you probably should have a really diverse audience that are also successful, and you can learn from them and you can sell to them, or you can use their network or use their advice. And this is where you can compound on this capital dramatically. Because again, definitely putting $100 a week will give you a good return in 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it will get you probably to a good 6 figures or maybe more, again, depending on where you put your money in and depending on the market. Yes, but it will not give you $1 billion. So depending on your goals, play this bolt.
I like that. I like that. And that's part of the reason, like we talked offline, of why I started this podcast, right? The opportunity to meet individuals and getting to unpack how they think and building that new relationship, right? Does it make sense for us to partner? Do we have synergies? It goes far. What do you look for when you're investing in people or ideas?
When I'm investing in ideas, I think it's two different things, just to be clear. Again, investing in people sometimes mean nothing in terms of doesn't really want to get anything from this. Sometimes, obviously, depends. But again, if I'm helping the employee to grow and I have some motivations to actually help him because I'm interested for him to be a player in the company, etc. So, and this is the important portion. But if I'm having a friend and helping him, I don't have any kind of specific outcomes that I see. Hey, yeah, I helped him to do this. Like, great. But by the end of the day, the world is based on favors. It's old Carnegie principle that still works. Do people favors and you will move forward much quicker. Besides this, in terms of the ideas, when you have some kind of idea and you want to test this and you want to invest in this, I think in many cases, I want to really understand my playbook here. How I'm deploying this, how I'm testing that this is working. And same for business, same for my personal habits as examples. Sometimes investing in my habits is much more beneficial in terms of the outcomes. I was like reducing time spending on something or adding something to your schedule sometimes is much more beneficial for your future. And it's all compounding. So this is the point. It's like, hey, spending 30 minutes a day on something, which probably 99.99 people actually have. And no, you're not this 0.111% there. You all have 30 minutes. And if you invest in this time to learn something or to connect or to build something, like in a year, you will be in really great shape there. The same is like for sports or same for any kind of activity. So yeah, just experiment and see the right KPIs that you can understand if you're moving in the right direction or not. Adjust, because again, we all always will fail if we just believe that our direction is 100% correct. We should adjust and we should accept that sometimes we will be wrong. And sometimes we just need to turn around and think like, hey, it's probably we need to turn left, not right. And this is normal. But for many people is like, yeah, it's my pride. It's like, do you really want to care about your pride or your future?
One thing you mentioned that really hit home for me is I just instinctively, we just don't understand like compounding, like, 30 minutes a day, that concept. AI has a lot of 30-day challenges where they tell you, 15 minutes a day learning these AI tools can change your world. We underestimate, doing little things. Like even in my business and what I do, again, I'm constantly growing my network. One conversation that I could have had 2 years ago is a result of the success that I'm having today because something that I did 2 years ago. I see that all the time in my business. It's just a natural progression. We're coming to the end, and this is such a great conversation. I thank you, Vadim, for joining again. I definitely want to bring you back if I can. I want to end with one more quick bonus section. All right.
Right.
And this section is the rapid round. It's very fun, right? I think you'll like it. I want to ask you a question. I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay. All right. First thing, a book that changed your life.
This is it's a book that I completely forgot the name. This book is basically about that you need to continue doing and don't really care about everything else. So this is...
Was it How to Not Give a Fuck?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I was trying to look for this book.
It's like a yellow cover, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's over there. So you're right. Yes. Absolutely. This book is really changed my perspective and moved me to next step for sure.
I bet. Especially what you shared with me, I can understand that one. Best investment under $500.
Probably in reality, continue to invest to actually index funds like VTI or QQQ or VTSX, etc. And just doing this constantly and compounding, reinvesting. Simple.
I like it. Compounding again. One word that defines success.
Doing.
Who do you admire for how they deploy capital?
Probably admire probably Buffett for sure. And again, it's a boring answer, but he's just the best. It's like no judgment there. Again, about the risk capital, probably Elon Musk.
Yeah, brilliant minds. Oh, thank you guys for joining us today on another great episode of Deployed. Vadim, you are also. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your business schedule. I appreciate it. We'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thanks for inviting. See you.
You've been watching the Deployed podcast, where we deploy insight, capital, and growth.